What's going on, everybody? Bryan here, and today we're going to talk about why this little puppy is the perfect introduction to craft coffee. And then we're going to make some coffee. Alright, so first things first, this is the V60. So they named it the V60 because, as you can tell, we have a beautiful V shaped here at a 60-degree angle. Pretty clever, right? So I'd say there's two main reasons why the V60 is such a perfect introduction to craft coffee. First off, it's just really approachable in its design. So you see, you just plop it here on the mug, and I think just intuitively you understand, you're gonna, put the water and it's gonna go into the coffee mug. There's other ways to brew coffee that I wouldn't recommend for somebody that's just starting out. If you're used to doing things like with the French press or just pressing a button on a Keurig, then this is gonna be simple. But there's other things like this, like the AeroPress. This thing's great, but I mean, you got suction cups, you put filters. There's 3 pieces. This is a little intimidating, especially if you're just used to pressing one button to make your coffee every morning. So I wouldn't recommend I wouldn't recommend it. It's not the right one, but that one's great. We'll talk about that one another time. So that's reason number 1. It's just really approachable and it's just not too intimidating for people. And reason number 2 is just the quality cup of coffee that you get by using this, really inexpensive $10, $15 piece of equipment. And this paper filter is actually one of the reasons why it makes such a good cup of coffee. You see, there are natural oils in the coffee seed that come out during the brewing process. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's part of the taste and it can be really, really tasty, but it also masks a lot of flavors. And that's where a paper filter comes in. When you brew with a paper filter, it holds back those oils so that when you're drinking the coffee, you get a lot more of the brighter, acidic tones of the coffee. And if you're gonna go out and you're gonna spend $20 on a specialty light roasted bag of coffee beans, chances are you're gonna wanna taste more than just the oils of the coffee. You're gonna wanna taste the brightness, the acidity, the really just punch in the mouth flavor that craft coffee can really give you. So that's why I would say brew your coffee on the V60 first. And maybe if it's too acidic, if it's too much for you, switch back over to the French press. Nothing wrong with that. But I would say don't give up on the V60 because you're gonna find coffees that you're gonna prefer using that paper filter so you can taste the bean more. All right, enough talk. Let's go make some coffee.
Okay, so first thing you gotta do is measure out the coffee, and we're gonna be making enough coffee for just 1 cup. And if you don't have a scale, that's okay. This scoop that I'm using is a 2 tablespoon scoop. So that is 4 tablespoons. It's about 7 grams per tablespoon. For the V60, you're going to want to do a medium fine grind on this Compresso grinder. I have a fine setting and I just put it right in the middle. Next, you're going to want to heat your water. Now, the general rule is to get the water between 195 to 205 degrees Fahrenheit. That's just before boiling at 205 and above. Now, another thing that you're going to actually need in order to do this correctly is a gooseneck kettle. I know that might seem a little arbitrary, but you really need it in order to pour the water over the coffee in just the right way, which you'll see here in a minute. While you're waiting for your water to boil, you're going to want to use this time to grab your paper filter and just make a little crease along the edge here. Then take your paper filter and put it on the V60, and then once your water is ready, you're going to want to wet that filter and preheat your cup. Once your mug is preheated, make sure you don't forget to take that water and dump it out before you start. And now you're ready to start brewing your coffee. I have the stopwatch app open to show you how long each part of the brewing process should take. This is probably the hardest part, controlling the flow of the water, which is why the gooseneck kettle is so crucial. It's okay if you don't do this perfect on your first, second, or even third time, but the closer you get to the timeline, the better. And here's the timeline for you to look over just before we start. We're going to start with 40 to 50 grams of water for the pre-infusion. This is just to open up the pores of the coffee and get them ready to be extracted with the rest of the water. Don't forget this part, as it will change the taste of the final product if you do. At 30 seconds, you're going to want to start breaking up the bed of wet coffee grounds with a zigzag pattern. Then immediately start making small circles and slowly make the circles larger, then smaller again as you continue the pour. It should take 1 minute for you to get to 400 grams of coffee. So counting the 30-second pre-infusion, the timer should be at 1 minute and 30 seconds, just as you're finishing the pour. If you're like me, on your first try or two, you'll finish much faster and realize that you need to slow down a bit. It's also important that you try and get the water to fall straight down from the tip of the spout into the V60. You don't want to come at the coffee at an angle because you'll push down the coffee on the walls of the V60, which will result in an uneven extraction. The goal is that the coffee grounds will be evenly distributed around the V60's walls at the end of the brewing process. This is how you can tell if you had a good pour or not. After you finish pouring all of the water, it should take about 1 more minute for it to drain through all of the coffee grounds and be done brewing. That means if you did everything correctly, you should be done brewing at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. If it takes less than a minute for all of the water to go through the V60 after you're done pouring, you probably had too large of a ground size. So next time you're just going to want to grind the coffee a little bit finer. This should slow the water down a bit.
Thank you guys again so much for watching. Hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed yourself. And I hope you guys have a V60. And if not, I hope I encourage you to go out there and try to see what the V60 has in store for you. And remember, it makes a great gift. You know, if you have a parent, a friend, or a sibling, someone that you think might enjoy craft coffee, I'd say get them this thing and share this video with them. Let them know how to use it correctly to get the best out of their V60. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.